Habit 1. Be proactive. Interpreting the be proactive habit. This habit is based on taking responsibility for one's own life by unleashing the unique powers inherent in human nature. This habit emphasizes the fact that people can use their unique abilities such as self-awareness, imagination, conscience, and most importantly free will to change and transform the circumstances and external factors that affect them. Reactive people are victims of events, while proactive people are in a position to control and manage events. Proactivity enables people to act in line with their own values and principles, using the freedom of choice that functions in the space between action and reaction. In this way, the individual becomes the determinant of circumstances, rather than the determinant of circumstances. They have control over their own reactions, not over the problems in the outside world. The book emphasizes that people often tend to see the negativity and weaknesses around them, blame them, and make themselves victims. However, proactive individuals take control of their lives by recognizing that they are responsible for the consequences of their choices and actions. Proactivity means adopting a lifestyle based on one's own value system and principles. In this way, the individual acts in the light of his or her own inner motives and values, without allowing external circumstances to govern him or her. 1. Habit leads to this kind of freedom and sense of responsibility. Social mirror. The phenomenon known as social mirroring is a very powerful human characteristic that stems from the need to see and evaluate oneself through the eyes of others. We humans often have difficulty understanding the world and ourselves, and even educating ourselves on the ideas and perspectives of others. Our knowledge of ourselves and our own perception are greatly influenced by the ideas, values, and reactions of the people around us. Social mirroring is the positioning and evaluation of oneself in relation to others. However, it should not be forgotten that these mirrors do not always fully reflect the truth. Because each individual looks at the world through the filter of their own experiences, beliefs, and observations. In order to be active, a person must first deeply examine and analyze the ideas emerging from the social lens, and then return to their own priorities, values, and principles of various kinds. Only in this way can a person eliminate external conditions and the established assumptions of others, and reveal their true self and potential. Proactivity here is the individual's awareness and self-monitoring, independent of social lenses. Proactive model. The basis of the action model is based on human agency operating in the area between action and non-action. As emphasized in the book, proactive individuals choose their objects of interest in accordance with their own values and principles, rather than spontaneous actions based on stimuli from the outside world. This model allows people to become determinants of emotion by using their own unique abilities such as self-awareness, reason, conscience, and free will. Early modeling allows the individual to take responsibility for their own lives by increasing their control over how they behave. The examples presented in the book illustrate the difference between the strategies. While reactive people become victims by influencing circumstances in others, active individuals control their lives by creating their own values. This active model forms the basis for a person to cease being a passive being and become an active subject. Knowing oneself, clarifying one's values, and making conscious choices increase the person's impact on their life. Thus, an active person is guided not by their environment but by the principles of their own inner world. Between action and reaction. The concept of between action and reaction forms the basis of a proactive lifestyle. This principle emphasizes the free will and choice that a person has regarding their reactions to the influences they receive from the outside world. People generally tend to react instantly and automatically to events that affect them. However, proactive individuals develop a conscious and deliberate reaction by using their freedom of choice in the gap between action and reaction. Instead of being victims of the elements that affect them, they are subjects who act in accordance with their own value judgments. Giving the example of Viktor Frankl's experience in the Nazi death camps, he emphasizes that people have the ability to choose their own reactions even in the most difficult conditions thanks to their self-awareness, imagination, conscience, and free will. Despite the horrific events around them, Frankl was able to determine how to react to them with his own will. Here, the proactive person is not passive in the face of influences, but is active. This approach shows that a person is not only the product of stimuli from the outside world, but on the contrary, they are free beings who act based on their own consciousness, values, and choices. Proactivity is based on the fact that the individual has the power to transform himself and his environment. Habit 2. Start with the end in mind. The principle of beginning with the end in mind states that everything must first be created in the mind and then implemented in reality. This suggests that a successful life or project should first be designed mentally and then implemented physically. The underlying point of the principle is that everything is created twice. The first creation occurs in the mind and consciousness. The second creation occurs in the action phase. This approach also addresses the differences between leadership and management. While leaders shape the big picture and vision, managers establish and organize systems to realize that vision. The beginning with the end in mind attitude emphasizes the importance of defining personal and organizational missions. These missions enable individuals and organizations to make more conscious and consistent decisions by acting in line with values and vision. In this way, individuals, families, and organizations can take more effective, planned, and efficient steps to achieve their long-term goals. Leadership and management. 2 creations. The idea that man creates everything twice is the basis of the begin with the end in mind movement. Imagining everything intellectually first, and then physically realizing it, is the key to an effective human existence. The first creation is in the mind and imagination. When you want to build a house, you first draw a detailed picture of how that house should look and what needs it should meet. This is the first stage of creation. The second nature is the construction of this mental model. This dual process forms the basis of every successful human action. They also point to the application of these 2 creative principles in other areas: professional life, family, education. If you want to have a successful project, you first plan that project in your mind. If you want to be a successful parent, you must mentally plan the growth of your children. Therefore, every successful application begins with creativity. The begin with the end in mind habit requires the conscious application of these 2 creative processes to every process. In this way, the individual can plan and manage his own future and success. Everything is created twice. The idea that man creates everything twice is the basis of the habit of starting with the end in mind. The key to man's ability to live an effective life is that everything is first designed in the mind and then physically realized. The first creation is at a conceptual and mental level. When you want to build a house, you first make a detailed design of how that house should look and what needs it should meet. This is the first creation stage. The second creation is the concrete construction of this mental model. This 2-stage process forms the basis of every successful action of man. Attention is also drawn to the applications of these 2 creation principles in other areas: business, family, education, such as, if you want to be a successful business owner, you first mentally design that business. If you want to be a successful parent, you mentally create a plan for the development of your children. In other words, every successful enterprise begins with a mental creation. The habit of starting with the end in mind requires man to consciously apply these 2 creation processes for every action. In this way, the individual becomes able to design and manage his or her own future and success more effectively. Personal mission statement. Personal mission statement is a guide that clearly states the individual's most important values, goals, and what they want to be in the future. This concept is an important part of the start with the end in mind habit and serves as a basic guide that directs the individual's life. Preparing a personal mission statement requires the individual to know themselves better and embark on an inner journey. In this process, the individual clarifies where they want to go in the future using their own self-awareness, imagination, and conscience, and sets a goal accordingly. This statement helps the individual align their decisions and behaviors in their life with the things that are most valuable to them. Thanks to the mission statement, the individual begins to live a more meaningful and effective life by focusing only on important things. The vision and values in the statement shape and guide each step of the individual. In addition, this guidance helps the individual to establish a balance, not only in one area, but also between all the roles and responsibilities in their life. In this way, the individual can always remember what is truly important in their life and take steps accordingly. In conclusion, the habit of beginning with the end in mind offers an individual the opportunity to design their future and live accordingly. A personal mission statement is also the cornerstone of an effective life. The family's mission statement, the start with the end in mind habit, which developed the concept of personal mission statement, also points to the application of the same principle at the family level. Since the family is the individual's most basic and most effective social environment, it is extremely important for them to create a mission statement. The family mission statement clearly reveals the family's common values, priorities, and vision. Since this statement is created with the participation of all family members, it is adopted by everyone and strengthens the bond within the family. Because everyone in the family shares the family's most basic goals and orientations, the family mission statement ensures that daily decisions and actions are compatible with this common framework. In this way, family members understand and support each other better and protect the integrity of the family. The existence of the mission statement also creates a common reference point for the problems the family encounters. As a result, this concept, which is the reflection of the start with the end in mind, habit at the family level, forms the basis for the family to function effectively and harmoniously. The integration of family members around common values increases both their individual and collective effectiveness. Habit 3. Prioritize important tasks. The power of free will forms the basis of this habit. By using the freedom of choice that exists in the gap between action and reaction, the individual can base the sources of their behavior on their own values rather than external conditions. This is the essence of a proactive lifestyle. The author also examines the development of different generations in time management. In the process from the to-do lists of the first generations to the calendars and appointment books of the second generation and the prioritization approach of the third generation, the book highlights a new paradigm called Quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is a time management approach that allows the individual to organize around their own values and mission and prioritize the tasks that are truly important. The key concept here is to see the important rather than the urgent. The book emphasizes that the habits developed in this direction will increase the individual's effectiveness many times over. In addition, under the title Giving Captaincy Authority, it offers ways for the individual to effectively manage others. In this way, the individual gains the ability to evaluate both their own time and the contributions of other people in the most efficient way. Here, Habit 3 opens up ways for people to organize their lives in line with their free will and value judgments. It provides a highly functional framework for individuals to demonstrate effective self-management. The power of free will. The power of free will forms the basis of the habit of prioritize important things. As emphasized in the book, a person's freedom of choice is the key to their ability to live an effective life. Instead of giving instant and automatic reactions to stimuli from the outside world, an individual can use their free will to make conscious choices in line with their own value judgments. This saves them from being a passive victim and turns them into an active subject who takes responsibility for their life. A person's self-awareness, imagination, and conscience allow them to determine their own behavior using their free will. In this way, the individual ceases to be a slave to the conditions that affect them and gains the power to transform them. This forms the basis of a proactive lifestyle. Free will gives the individual the ability to manage both their own life and the lives of others. In this way, the individual's sphere of influence expands and provides stronger control over both themselves and their environment. Prioritizing important things is only possible thanks to this ability to make free choices. As a result, the power of free will forms the basis of the habit of prioritize important things. This power allows the individual to take responsibility for his or her own life and manage it in line with his or her own values. Time management across 4 generations. The concept of time management has gone through different stages in the development of humanity. The first generations adopted an approach based simply on a to-do list. Later generations developed time management a little more with tools such as calendars and appointment books. However, the real transformative step was taken with the approach that the author describes as Quadrant 2. This understanding allows the individual to prioritize around their own values and life purpose. What is important now is to focus on the tasks that are truly important rather than urgent. This 4th generation time management model emphasizes the individual's free will and proactive attitude. The individual becomes able to use their time in the most efficient way by acting in line with their own mission and values. Thus, effectiveness and success are determined by the individual's own choices. In addition, the approach presented under the title of Giving Captaincy Authority is also very important, because the individual must have the ability to manage both their own time and the contributions of others in the best way. This also forms the basis of an effective leadership and management approach. The time management experiences of these different generations reveal the development and importance of the habit of prioritizing important tasks. The free will and proactive approach of the individual makes a real transformation possible in this area. 2. Square widget. The Quadrant 2 approach is the essence of the prioritize important tasks habit. This model is a transformative paradigm that enables individuals to use their time in the most efficient way. The basic idea is that individuals act around their own values, mission, and priorities. Now, the focus shifts from urgency to truly important tasks. The individual aims to live a life in line with their values by making their own choices with their free will. The 4 sections in Quadrant 2 completely change a person's approach to time. 1. Not important and not urgent. This section includes tasks that provide long-term development and growth, but are overlooked among daily urgencies. It is vital to address these. Point 2. Important but not urgent. Strategically critical areas that do not require immediate action. Opportunities here should be evaluated. Point 3. Unimportant but urgent. Daily routine tasks, unexpected emergencies, etc. Too much time should not be spent on these. Point 4. Unimportant and not urgent. Unnecessary time traps. These should be avoided. Point 2. The square approach allows individuals to prioritize based on their own values, allowing them to focus on what really matters and achieve true effectiveness and success. Being self-managed in Quadrant 2. As an individual who adopts the Quadrant 2 approach, I strive to use my time and energy in the most efficient way. I act around my own values, mission, and priorities. I give special importance to important and non-urgent tasks. These play a critical role in my long-term development and growth process. I do not allow them to be overshadowed by daily urgencies. I take care to evaluate the opportunities in this section. I also spend time on important but non-urgent tasks. I do not neglect these areas that are of great strategic importance. I try to manage them with the right timing and planning. I try to minimize unimportant but urgent tasks as much as possible. Daily routines and unexpected situations should not distract me from the most important tasks. I handle them as efficiently as possible. Finally, I stay away from unimportant and non-urgent time traps. These are unnecessary activities and cause me to waste my energy. Instead of spending time on such tasks, I focus on my real priorities. As someone who adopts the Quadrant 2 approach, I live a life in line with my values, prioritize truly important tasks, and thus progress effectively. By using my time and energy in the most efficient way, I increase my success and happiness. Habit 4. Win-win. Builk, in Sandler Erisi Ekosimlard ve Musicaralar Jursectin Donistoriku Sonuklar Dogurbilar. Temel Fakir, Baskalariola Olin Iliskalar Kazanya de Kabet Zinia Tindan Yuzaklaset, Perkasin Kazandiji Burs Sonic Eldamector. Bu Paradigma de Jisimi, Byrian Oscar Iridisi ve Victani Kodlarini Divray Sakmasini Directora. Kazan/Kazan Anlaisi, Byrian Digger Terafin Bakis Assassini Anlamea Kalasmasila Basler. Empati Kormietan Niji, Bu Alaskalajan Temeldayan Agita. Karsi Terafin Yaklarini, Indacelarini ve Beklantilarini Gazan Bilandermaiden. Kini Sakarlarini 1 Sikarmak. Kalasai ve Tatman Edisai Sonuklar Dogermaz. Bunin Urin. Kazan/Kazan Yaklasimi, Tom Teraflarin Yaklarini Karsalayan, Ortak Burkozum Yer May Yamakler. Boilas hem Iliskiler Gyuklaner hem de Sorler Daha Ekenber Bison Kozum Kavuser. Perkasin Kazandiji Bursonic. Tom Pataslarin Mimuniatini ve Baglaligini Auditor. As an individual who adopts the Quadrant 2 approach, I strive to use my time and energy in the most efficient way. I act around my own values, mission, and priorities. I give special importance to important and non-urgent tasks. These play a critical role in my long-term development and growth process. I do not allow them to be overshadowed by daily urgencies. I take care to evaluate the opportunities in this section. I also spend time on important but non-urgent tasks. I do not neglect these areas that are of great strategic importance. I try to manage them with the right timing and planning. I try to minimize unimportant but urgent tasks as much as possible. Daily routines and unexpected situations should not distract me from the most important tasks. I handle them as efficiently as possible. Finally, I stay away from unimportant and non-urgent time traps. These are unnecessary activities and cause me to waste my energy. Instead of spending time on such tasks, I focus on my real priorities. As someone who adopts the quadrant 2 approach, I live a life in line with my values, prioritize truly important tasks, and thus progress effectively. By using my time and energy in the most efficient way, I increase my success and happiness. Bu Alice Ganlick, Sadis Kasilarasi Iliskalar Dejal, Karamsel ve Uluslarasi Duzideki Musicaralar de Sun Diris Ekalayo Labalar. Terraflaren Ortaxicalarini Gazan Buran Leas, Uzan Bedid Herks Isen Enthi Sanukadogura. Ist Kazan Yaklasimi, Incident Oscar Iridisi ve Victani Kodlarini Herki Jeswarek, Karsaliklion Leas, Isperligi ve Serduro Biller Illiskiler Gelisteromasin Olanactaner. 6 paradigms of human interaction. There are 6 different approaches that emerge in human interactions. 1. Win-lose. This is a classic negotiation style where people prioritize their own interests and do not allow the other party to win. However, this leads to the deterioration of relationships and the failure to reach a permanent solution to problems. 2. Lose-lose. This is a negative outcome where both parties lose and neither party wins. This usually results in conflict and hostility. 3. Win-win. Instead, a solution where everyone wins should be sought. This is built on empathy and consideration of common interests. 4. Win-win. This is a more advanced version of the win-win approach. The needs and expectations of the parties are met even more deeply. 5. Lose-win. Here, one party makes complete sacrifices while the other party wins. This is not sustainable in the long term. 6. Win-lose. Here, one party wins while the other party loses. This is not suitable for the long-term development of relationships. Here, the win-win approach stands out as the paradigm that produces the most effective and sustainable results in human interactions. This creates the basis for mutual understanding, cooperation, and long-term relationships. Emotional bank account. The concept of an emotional bank account is an important component of the win-win habit. It refers to the accumulation of emotional capital in people's relationships with each other. Just as we accumulate money in monetary bank accounts, we should also accumulate emotional capital in our relationships. The positive emotional contributions we give to people in our interactions, such as value, respect, trust, and support, accumulate as if we were depositing money into an account. The more we accumulate in this account, the stronger and healthier our relationships with those people will be. Because when we need it, the emotional capital we can withdraw from this account will help us. For example, if an employee's boss constantly shows support, understanding, and appreciation in their relationship with their boss, the employee's trust and loyalty to their boss will increase. Thus, the emotional bank account will be strengthened, and everyone will benefit from this relationship. On the contrary, if a relationship is constantly withdrawn, that is, if people are constantly demanding and expecting from them, then the emotional bank account will be empty. This will prevent that relationship from functioning healthily. The win-win habit allows people to continually feed their emotional bank accounts in their interactions with each other, thus developing mutual trust, support, and understanding, which increases the effectiveness of both personal and corporate relationships. 6 key investments. There are 6 important investment areas that deeply address the concept of the emotional bank account. These are the basic elements that strengthen and sustain interpersonal relationships. 1. Empathy. The ability to understand the other party's perspective and share their feelings. This forms the basis of the win-win approach. 2. Acceptance. Accepting and approving people unconditionally as they are. This builds trust and commitment. 3. Courtesy. Demonstrating thoughtfulness, respect, and polite behavior. This strengthens relationships and creates a positive climate. 4. Understanding. Deeply understanding the other party's situation, needs, and expectations. This improves communication and collaboration. 5. Apologizing. Offering a sincere apology to the other party when they make a mistake. This repairs trust and strengthens relationships. 6. Promising and keeping. Delivering on what is promised. This reinforces reliability and responsibility. When individuals and organizations focus on these areas in their relationships, they can increase both their personal and professional success. Because this is how strong and healthy interactions based on the win-win principle develop.